Hello, I'm Joel Blackford with Beth Hassett Sabbath Fellowship. Thank you for joining us. We're virtual only, based out of St. Paul, Minnesota. The phone number does work if you'd like to contact us. We do the philosophy of eschatology, what you need to know, your reality, our existence. We solve a little section of Revelation each week. It's going to be 19:8 this week, Revelation 19:8, which are the fine, clean garments, and why you need those, and why you can't be naked, and you can't even be clothed. It has to be fine, clean linen. What's that? So we're going to go through it this week and solve that little piece of Revelation. This is a longer video. I apologize for that. And it's going to get very messianic as we move through it, but that's what I do. So once again, you can't go into heaven naked. You can't go in with even clean garments. With dirty garments. You can go in only with clean, white linen, preferably, and they have to be given to you. Given is the operative word in this case. So I show this slide every week, and thank you, Sheila, for noticing this slide. And she said, "Well, why don't you explain this?" So it's my belief that that Yeshua will return, and everything will be based on the fall festivals. And we're getting ready. We're in the Elul now. We're getting ready for the fall festivals. So he would return on Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, or Sukkot, and you will need to wear clean white linen garments. It's a wedding, and it's really important. And I'll show you the last verses is Matthew 22 that I'll be showing you today, and those verses will really prove that you better go in with clean stuff, okay? And they're given to you again. So all you have to do is just do what you're supposed to do, and we'll explain it to you. Don't worry, we'll take the time and explain it. So once again, we're going to go through Revelation 19 and spend just a few seconds in there, and then we're going to explain what's going on. So let's get through Revelation 19. A voice went out from the throne saying, "Praise our God, all you his servants, you who fear him, small and great." Then I heard what sounded like a roar. It's a ruah. It sounds like, why am I blanking? Joshua 6. They shout around Jericho. The moon city, and there are trumpet blasts too, but they're called jubilees, yuvals, and so it's very interesting that it would be there's no specific trumpet blast in Revelation 19, but it is a ruah, and that does qualify like a teruah. It's close, but the ruah is more like just a roar of a huge crowd, like the sound of rushing waters. That sounds like mayim kaim, living water. That's what Yeshua would want us to be baptized in. He was baptized in that. Like loud peals of thunder. That's kind of like God's voice saying, "Hallelujah, Adonai, God of heaven's armies, has begun his reign." That's 5 through 6 of 19, and then continuing on to the critical verses. "Let us rejoice and be glad. Let us give him the glory, for the time has come for the wedding of the Lamb, and his bride has prepared herself. Fine linen, bright and clean, has been given her to wear." Fine linen means the righteous deeds of God's people. And the Greek word is dikaioma. And in the Hebrew, we would call it hukim. We'll explain it to you. It'll take some time. We'll dig through hukim today. Okay. The Greek word is just getting you back to the hukim. And so I use the Septuagint to get that done. Something prescribed. It's a statute or due. And it is something that's part of the Bible. And we'll explain where you find it and what it means. So these are messianic decrees kept without knowledge of why. You don't get to know certain things that God says, just do it. Okay, it's like parents. Don't touch a hot stove. Just don't do it. Okay, so that's Revelation 19, 7 through 8. So once again, we do the philosophy of eschatology, what you need to know. We try not to twist the Bible. We realize that we're dealing with the end of Revelation here. It's going to be an interesting day, and we're not really looking at the news other than you need to work on your garments, people. This is really important. So, first of all, the first proposition, the first presupposition, the first thought is that you are born in God's grasp. You are there. You are all dead babies, that are aborted and whatever else, go to heaven. And we have, 2 Samuel 12, 21 through 23, really to cite that. So you can lose your salvation, but you are born in a salvation state. Okay, so let's read from 2 Samuel and see what David has to say and why. But his servants asked him, "What are you doing? You fasted and wept for the child while it was alive, but now the child is dead. You get up and eat food?" He answered, "While the child was still alive, I fasted and wept, because I thought, maybe Adonai will show his grace to me and let the child live. But now that he's dead, why should I fast? Can I bring him back again? No, I will not. I will go to him, but he will not return to me." So it tells you where the babies are. Okay, and so it's critical for you to realize that I'm not a once saved always saved type of a guy. I understand. I've watched people lose their salvation. Good godly people lose their salvation. So I understand that. And so the point is, and I'm not a Calvinist, and you can probably tell already I'm anti-Calvinist. So the main point here is that based on how things are structured in the Bible throughout, you are born saved, and you choose to leave God, you choose to leave Yeshua, things like that. And so that's the presupposition. All children, and this is from a Catholic site. God bless the Catholics. You know, you may argue with me over that, but I love my Catholic friends. I don't love the Pope, you know that. But the main thing is the Catholic people are wonderful people, and they love life, and they fight alongside me. When I'm in the trenches, that's where they are. Okay, so now let's deal with naked first. So we'll go through a few different things. First is naked. So this is from Genesis 2:25. They were both naked, the man and his wife, and they were not ashamed. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, the terms naked, a room, in the case of the Hebrew, and nakedness are used 104 times in Scripture, a high number of fairly uncommon words indicating their importance. Depending upon the context, the terms can figuratively indicate innocence, defenselessness, vulnerability, helplessness, possibly hopelessness, humiliation, shame, guilt, or judgment. This is from John W. Rittenbaugh. Nice guy, good thoughts. I want you to be aware that when you read Genesis 3, you're going to see a play of words going on between a room and a room, and they both start with an eyeing, and so it can mean crafty for the serpent rather, or it can mean naked for the people. So God understands the intricacies of this between the two, the craftiness and the nakedness. Okay. So let's get into Genesis 3 and see what's going on. When the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasing in appearance, and that the tree was desirable for making one wise, she took some of its fruit and ate. She also gave some to her husband, who was with her. Yeah, he wasn't a mile away. He was right there. He had a beautiful wife. Why would he leave her? And he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized that they were naked. That is the room word, but it can also mean crafty or naked. It depends upon the context in Genesis. So remember, the serpent was a room also, and so, but he was crafty. Okay, so they sewed fig leaves together and made for themselves loincloths. That's Genesis 3:6-7. So we see that they were opened, their eyes, after they ate, and knew that they were naked and that they were ashamed. Okay, and so now let's look at another shame situation involving being drunk. So that's Noach, the farmer, was the first to plant a vineyard. He drank so much of his wine that he got drunk and lay uncovered in his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father shamefully exposed, went out and told his two brothers, Shem and Japheth, took a cloak, put it over their shoulders, and walking backward, they went in and covered their naked father. Their faces were turned away, so they did not see their father lying there shamefully exposed. So it wasn't anything to do with sex, I believe. It had to do with just the nakedness of their father, and they're not supposed to see that. There is the uncovering of the nakedness found in Deuteronomy. This is not really an uncovered nakedness. It's just that they weren't supposed to view him. There's something shameful about seeing naked elders, and you don't hold them in high regard at that point in time. So Ham is the son of yeah. No, it's not Ham. It's Canaan. He is cursed, and that curse continues on to this day. So just keep that in mind. There was this embarrassment that he caused as a result of this. So now let's continue on to the New Testament and look at a couple of cases of nakedness. And we're trying to make this case that nakedness is very odd and is admonished. A certain young man was following Yeshua, having put a linen cloth about his naked body. So he was clean with his cloth, and he was covering his naked body. And the young man lay hold on him, and he, having left the linen cloth, did flee from them naked. So this is Yeshua, and he's in the garden, and they come up to arrest him, and this guy that's wearing linen, so he's clothed properly, he's ready to go, and then they grab him, and they grab his linen, and he runs away naked. So that's an embarrassment. Okay, so one other case in point of this nakedness issue. So now let's move on And this is Yeshua being buried, and this is John 19. Also, Nicodemus, who at first had gone to see Yeshua by night, came with some 70 pounds of spices, a mixture of myrrh and aloes, and they took Yeshua's body and wrapped it up in linen sheets and with spices, and in keeping with the Judean burial practice, in the vicinity of where he had been executed was a garden, and in the garden was a new tomb, which no one had ever been buried. So because it was preparation day for the Judeans of Passover, and because the tomb was close by, that is where they buried Yeshua. So his naked body was clothed by linen sheets, and that is a picture of the priesthood. It is. The priests wear linen. That young man wore the linen until they ripped his linen off him and he ran around naked. And so there is an embarrassment in nakedness. There is an exaltation of the linen where you wouldn't sweat as much, you wouldn't perspire, and for some reason it transfers holiness. So we'll discuss that in a little while here. But we're going to at least see the first word that I want to cover a little bit more deeply, which is hook. And so also make for them linen shorts, reaching from the waist to the thigh, to cover their bare flesh, their naked flesh. Aaron and his sons are to wear them when they go out into the tent of meeting and when they approach the altar to minister in the holy place, so that they won't incur guilt and die. So nakedness can potentially cause that. This is to be a perpetual regulation, even to today. That is olam, huk, or huk olam in the Hebrew. And so huk, again, is a regulation. We don't understand it. We don't need to understand it. Just do it, okay? It's a hot stove. Don't touch it, okay? Both for him and his descendants. So that's Exodus 28. And so you can see the white garments there, and then you can see the priestly robes on top of those types of garments. And so there is a reason why he's supposed to wear linen. And God chooses linen. Now keep in mind too, wool comes from an animal. Linen comes from flax. And linen is absolutely smashed, okay? I mean, they beat it up really bad, like Yeshua beaten up. So there is a comparison between linen and what happens to us and what happens to Yeshua. But linen has another frequency, a different frequency than wool. So keep it in mind. And it's very interesting that he chooses linen. He likes linen. And it is the righteous act. So once again, clothed, encompassed by righteous acts. So this is from Rittenbaugh again. I kind of like what he has to say. I don't know anything about him, but I like this. So Exodus 19:10, here the word sanctify does not mean set apart, but consecrate or dedicate or make pure. The word holy, kadosh, has two meanings: to set aside. You could be wholly set apart to the idols, or you could be wholly set apart to the Lord. It could also be to cut out certain things to make yourself set apart to either God or Satan. However, it carries a sense of purity. Well, purity towards Satan or purity towards God, yes. Notice what Moses is told to do. Let them wash their clothes. This is Exodus 19. And so he's telling them in Exodus 19, that you're supposed to be set apart. You're supposed to be pure. So wash your clothes. In the New Testament, clean, washed clothes symbolize the righteous acts of the saints. He's correct with that. He's citing Revelation 19:8 indirectly. In this instance, they physically had to wash their clothes to purify them. Where were the people? What were the people about to do? In a short time, they were going to draw near to God. In order to draw near to God, they had to be clothed. They can't be naked. They can't be dirty. They need to be encompassed by righteous acts. And in this case, it was literally washing their clothes. Okay? So John got it right here. Okay? And it's important. I can add to it, obviously, but he got it right. The gist is right. So let's continue on and look at some more clothing things. We aren't dealing with nakedness right now, although we'll see a little bit more of that. When it snows, this woman from Proverbs 31, the great woman, has no fear for her household, since all of them are doubly clothed. She makes her own quilts. She is clothed in fine linen and purple. Okay, so it gives you that picture of this wonderful woman, and that is in many ways the bride of Yeshua. So keep in mind, yes, it's a good wife, but it's also the bride of Yeshua. Once they enter the gates of the inner courtyard, they are to wear linen clothing. They are not to wear any wool while serving at the gates of the inner courtyard or inside it. They're to wear linen turbans on their head and linen underclothes on their bodies, and they're not to wear anything that makes them sweat. Before going out to the people in the outer courtyard, they are to remove the clothes in which they minister, lay them in the holy rooms. There's a holy section, okay, and to put on other clothes so that they won't transmit holiness the people by means of their clothing. This is Ezekiel 44. This is a picture of the millennium, and so some of the rules that applied in the past will reapply in the future, and so there is this issue with the clothing transmitting holiness to the people. It's like your holiness is supposed to come from God. Your righteous deeds come from your righteous deeds, and they are transmitted to you via your righteous deeds. This hukim issue, and so it isn't up to the priest to transmit it to you. It's up to you to clean your own garments, if you know what I mean. Okay, so this is from Dr. Eli Zorkin Eisenberg. Nice guy. He's a preterist, but I do cite him frequently. And so this is one of those times. So Sardis, in this case, who have not soiled their clothes. So nevertheless, you do have a few people in Sardis who have not soiled their clothes, and they will walk with me, clothed in white, because they are worthy. He who wins the victory will, like them, be dressed in white clothing. This shows the importance of this purity requirement and not commitment and commitment. So Dr. Ellie says that, and I will not blot out his name from the book of life. Very critical. You see the salvation tied to the clean clothing, okay? In fact, I will acknowledge him individually before my Father and before his angels. Those who have ears, let them hear what the Spirit is saying to the Messianic communities from Revelation 3:4-6. Dr. Ellie got that right. Okay, so let's continue on and do some more Sardis here. Sardis congregation was severely backslidden. Yeshua prescribes the only possible cure, which is spiritual revival, which is repentance and things like that. Okay, soiled their clothes, clothed in white, the opposites there. Throughout the Bible, white, clean clothes refer to the righteous deeds God gives his people to do so that they may exercise and express their faith. And he cites these verses in Revelation 19:8, as we already did, and we'll be hitting on that all day. Isaiah 61:10 is very intriguing. Ephesians 2:10, sure. And then also in Revelation 3:18, 4:4, 6, bunches of verses. And we'll show you some of those verses in a little bit here. Contrast the outwardly righteous works which people without faith organize for themselves to do. These things God calls filthy rags in Isaiah 64:5 and 6. So this is from Stern. And Stern, I love Stern the most. I'm sorry that he's deceased now. Love him. Okay, so continuing on, now we're moving on to Laodicea. So because you, Laodicea, are lukewarm, neither cold or hot, I will vomit you out of my mouth, for you keep saying, I am rich, and I have gotten rich. I don't need a thing. You don't know that you are the one who is wretched, pitiable, poor, blind, and naked. Yes, they are naked. And so that means that they don't even have garments to clean. My advice is to you to buy gold refined by fire so that you may be rich, and white clothing so you're not naked, so that you may be dressed and not be ashamed of your nakedness. You see, it's a consistent theme all the way through. Ashamed of your nakedness, you need clothes, but you need white clothing. You need really bright white, clean, and eye salve to rub on your eyes so that you may see. There's an issue with seeing and throughout the Bible too, where people just are blind to certain things. Okay, continuing on to 1 Peter 5:4-5, which is consistent with the same thought. Then when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive glory as your unfading crown. Likewise, you who are less experienced, submit to leaders. Further, all of you should clothe yourselves in humility. Moses had humility. And so the main thing is arrogance doesn't get you into heaven. So it's part of those righteous deeds is humility is part of that, and really, really critical. So towards one another, because God opposes the arrogant. You're not going to get in with dirty garments or naked, and arrogance would be similar to those issues. But to the humble he gives grace. Therefore, humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, so that at the right time he may lift you up. Thank you, Peter. Okay, now this is from Micah 6:9. This is cool. You'll only see this from me, I think, because you have to really dig through the Septuagint to find this. And so the Septuagint, what's cool is the rabbis really play a lot of games with things, okay? Because they love the Hebrew. They cried when they had to translate it to the Septuagint because it's not a literal translation. It's into Greek, and God's tongue is Hebrew as far as I'm concerned. So, but I want you to see what they did here. It's really cool. So Micah 6:9 again. So the voice of the Lord in the city shall be called upon, and he shall deliver the ones fearing his name. Hear, O tribe, and who shall adorn the city. Yeah, it's really cool. So I'm blanking. I think it's Kuse. Oh, Kusese, Kusese, Kusmise. Yeah. So I had it down a little while ago, but it should sound like Kus. I'm thinking more about that. Anyway, so the point is, with this particular word, the rabbis translated from yada, which is more of a sexual term, which is yada. If a man yadas his wife, he knows her sexually. Well, in this case, they translated it into adorn, which is very interesting, which is kind of the city issue. It's the city of Jerusalem. And I'll show you more verses that match up with this. But really, for them to say, the coal of the Lord, Adonai, in the city, yeah, here, cries, the wisdom shall see your name and hear. And then the rod, interesting, and who has yadad it, which is, and they went the other direction with this. This is just really cool. So keep that in mind, that there's something about the city being adorned, and we'll see that right now. Okay, so let's go through Isaiah 52, which is the reading from yesterday, and then 61, and then Revelation 21. So let's do this. Like a bride beautifully dressed. Awake, awake, Zion, clothe yourself in your strength. Dress in your splendid garments, Jerusalem, the holy city. For the uncircumcised and the unclean will enter you no more. Shake off the dust, arise, be enthroned, Jerusalem. Loosen the chains on your neck, captive daughter of Zion. Isaiah 52. Same concept as we move into 61. I'm so joyful in Adonai, my soul rejoices in my God, for he has clothed me in salvation, Yeshua, dressed me in the robe of triumph, like a bridegroom wearing a festive turban, like a bride adorned with her jewels. Interesting. Same theme. Moving forward, Revelation 21, then I saw the new heaven and the new earth, for the old heaven and the old earth had passed away, and the sea was no longer there. And I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared like a bride, beautifully dressed for her husband. Do you see the theme all the way through? The garments. Don't be naked. Clean is okay, but if you really want to get to New Jerusalem, you need the righteous deeds. So what are the righteous deeds? Well, we'll be covering that in just a little bit. So now we're moving into that section. And Dan Botkin, I love him. He's just a wonderful guy. He's brilliant, and I can tell that because he puns all the time, and his jokes are all based on puns. So he's a Messianic scholar from Indiana. Maybe it's Southern Illinois. It's probably Indiana. He's been up. I've met him one time, but we talk on the internet all the time. And he does reverent twist truth. So some pastors twist the scriptures, and so sooner or later you're going to figure out that Exodus sounds like we ought to, and the pastor says no, don't worry about those old laws. We just read the New Testament. And keep in mind, when the dispensationalists are looking for the Gentile gate in the New Jerusalem, it ain't there. You go in through one of the tribes, one of the original tribes. Okay. So once again, Dan Botkin, and so I am a Messianic. And now, if you want to turn this thing off, you can. But the point is that we're going through this in terms of what a Messianic would think, what John would think. Okay, so we're going to go through. And first, I need to teach you a couple of little things here. So one, the Torah is predominant. Then underneath it, you have the mitzvot, which are the deeds. 365 of them are negative. 248 are positive in the Torah. And so if you're a female, hardly any of these apply to you. If you're a male, some apply to you. If you're a Levite, more apply to you. If you're a Levite in Jerusalem and you're supposed to do work, then a lot applies to you. But many things don't. So just keep that in mind. If you want to be a Messianic and a Sabbath keeper, keep the things that apply to you. Sabbath is one of them. The festivals is another. And then Torah. Read the Torah. It's fun. With the world going crazy right now, Torah readings are wonderful because it reminds you of what are the basics. What are the basics when you enter life? Okay, it's Torah. So when the Son asked thee in the time to come, saying, what mean of the adut, the hukim? So the adut is the martyrs in the Greek. It's witness of witnessing. And the hukim, we've talked about it already. So the huk would be the righteous deeds that you need to do, but you don't understand what they are. And the mishpatim, which Hashem Eloheinu has commanded you. That's from the Orthodox Jewish Bible. Then from Chabad over on the other side, if your son asks you at that time to come saying, What are the testimonies? That's a really good translation. That if you're going to cover a dute, the testimonies, and sometimes you have to testify. I'm going to have to testify in court coming up here against somebody that mugged one of the people from my building here. So anyway, I have to give a righteous testimony. I do. The statutes, that would be the hukim, okay? And we don't understand them. It doesn't make sense to us. Or the ordinances, we do understand that. That could be just a stop sign or a speed limit or something like that, that God, our God has commanded you. And God likes those types of laws too. He likes us involved in our laws. So that's the kavod version. So once again, adut would be martyr in the Greek, mishpat would be krima in the Greek, and huk would be tikayoma. And it's all throughout, especially as Revelation moves along, as John gets more Jewish. Okay, it's there. So Revelation 3:10, because you kept tereho. It's shamar. That's the Hebrew word shamar. My command, my entele, to endure. I also will keep you from the hour of testing, which is to come on the whole world, to test those who dwell on the earth. So that's Revelation 3:10. And then from Revelation 12 on, it's all John going Jewish. Okay, the dragon grew angry with the woman and went away to make war with the rest of her seed, who keep treho, again shamar, God's mitzvot, entele, and hold Yeshua's testimony. Okay. Testimony is martyr. And so it's all there. Okay. Revelation 12:17, 14:12. Here's the patience of the holy ones, those who, it's tereho, it's shamar, the mitzvot, the entele of God, and the faith of Yeshua. Okay. It's real consistent. He gets very, very messianic as John moves along. And he's in the back of the Bible already because he's pretty Jewish. Okay. But this is Bible. This is Torah. So once again, the Torah portion of Numbers 19 is hukat, and that is the red heifer, and we don't know why. We need to slaughter a red heifer. It doesn't make sense. Just do it when it's time. Okay, so it is perplexing. It is, and prophetic. So, but there's that word again, that huk type word. And great and wonderful are the things you have done, Adonai, God of heaven's armies. Just and true are your ways, King of the nations, Adonai, who will not fear and glorify your name, because you alone are holy. All nations will come and worship before you for your righteous deeds. There's the dekayoma. And the hukim again, because that's what it is in Hebrew, rulings beyond our understanding, have been revealed. So suddenly then, just as you're going into the bowls, these hukim are starting to be revealed. Like, oh, we don't know why we keep Sabbath. We don't know why we keep the festivals. We're just told to do so. Don't touch a hot stove. We get it. Do it. So that's Revelation 15:3, and then you move into 16 with the bowls. Okay? Continuing on, 16, this is the bowls. Behold, I come like a thief. Blessed is he who watches and keeps, that's shamar, that's tereho, his clothes, hukim, and we know, it doesn't say hukim there, but we know the clothes represent the hukim based on Revelation 19:8, so that he doesn't walk naked. So we see all the connections. This should work all the way through the Bible. That's what makes eschatology work. Does it work in Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus? Does it work all the way through? This works all the way through. Behold, I come quickly. Blessed is he who keeps, that's tereho, shamar, the words of prophecy of this book. Yep, 22:7. Yep, then 22:9. He said to me, see, you don't do it. I am a fellow bondservant with you and with your brothers, the prophets, and with those who, tereho, shamar, the words of this book. Worship God. Okay. We're running out of verses here, but we're almost done. So, but to you who fear my name. Now, I went back to Malachi, but Malachi is like Revelation, guys, okay? Because it's the end of the book, okay? But to you who fear my name, the Son of Righteousness, that's a way of saying Yeshua, will rise with healing in its wings, and you will break out leaping like calves released from the stall. When Yeshua returns, we will. Remember the Torah of Moses? Yeah, this is the Jewish version, but that's what John is talking about. Why? Because that's going to save you. My servant, who I enjoined him at Horeb, these laws, these hukim in this case, the rulings, that's the word mishpatim in Hebrew, for all Israel. Look, I will send you Eliyahu the prophet before the coming of the great and terrible day of Adonai. He will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers. Otherwise, I will come and strike the land with complete destruction. So Malachi is talking about the end of days. He's talking about the great and terrible day, and he's saying, hey, remember Moses, my servant, and remember the hukim, which we don't understand, but remember them, and the rulings, the mishpatim, which we do understand, but they're not as difficult to understand. So there you go. So, and then he'll send you Eliyahu, who will enforce the Torah of Moses. So now, We're getting close to the end. And I want to show you the word erga, which is like ergo, ergonomics, work. Okay, it means work. So this is Revelation 20. And I saw the dead, both great and small, standing in front of the throne. Books were opened. And another book was opened, the book of life. And the dead were judged from what was written in the books, according to what they had done. It could be stated more strongly, it's works, it's mitzvot, it's what you do. The sea gave up its dead in it, and death and Sheol gave up the dead in them, and they were judged, each according to what he had, erga, works. You will be judged on what you do or don't do. Your negatives, your positives, everything like that, just all the way through the Bible, that's how it reads. Okay, where are we right now? We're in the birth pangs. You've still got time to work on your garments. And they're given to you, people. They're given to you, and so you need to work on the part of it where you shamar his Torah, you keep his Torah, and you keep his festivals and the Sabbaths and things like that for when you get into the Great Tribulation or the Tribulation. We're not in there. Don't be naked. Don't have dirty clothes. Don't have white linen. We've got a couple more verses for you, but once again, it's the garments. Okay, don't be naked. Wear the clean garments. So once again, let's do Matthew 22 and close this thing out. The kingdom of heaven is like a king who prepared a wedding feast for his son, but when he sent slaves to summon the invited guests to the wedding, they refused to come. So he sent some more slaves, instructing them to tell the guests, look, I've prepared my banquet. I've slaughtered my bulls and my fatted cattle, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding. Woo! But they weren't interested and went off, one to his farm, another to his business. The rest grabbed his slaves, mistreated them, and killed them. Great guys. The king was furious and sent out his soldiers, and they killed those murderers and burned down their city. You will see burning occurring. You're noticing burning. There's going to be some more burning as people walk away from God and say, you know, I'm kind of busy. I want to take a vacation, God. I really don't need you right now. I need this vacation. So that's Matthew 22, 2 through 7. Continuing on and closing this out. Then he said to his slaves, well, the wedding feast is ready, but the ones who were invited didn't deserve it. So go out to the street corners and invite the banquet, as many as you can find. The slaves went out to the streets, gathered all the people who they could find, the bad along with the good. And the wedding hall was filled with guests, bad and good. Now when the king came in to look at the guests, he saw there was a man who wasn't dressed for a wedding. So he wasn't naked, but he wasn't dressed for the wedding. He had no hook. So he asked him, friend, how did you get in here without wedding clothes? These hook. How did you get? I mean, this is real simple. Just do what you're supposed to do. Don't touch the hot stove. The man was speechless. Then the king said to the servants, bind him hand and foot and throw him outside into the dark. In that place, people will wail and grind their teeth, for many are invited, but few are chosen. Matthew 22, 8 through 13. You might find that you get to the wedding by being martyred. Just keep that in mind. It might be one way to get there. That's a clean garment, people. Okay, very clean, very white linen. Thank you very much for your time. Be blessed. Love you all. Bye.